I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, June the 21st meeting of the Iredell County Board of Commissioners. But I ask that everyone, prior to our official meeting, bow your heads and pray, and especially lift up in prayers those in the county that lost their lives this past week in several accidents, and for the first responders that had to deal with some very serious and challenging situations. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Ms. Mull, would you please run over the adjustments to the agenda?
Absolutely. We have several adjustments. So the first item is the removal of administrative matters, item 8.7, which is the Image First contract. That'll come back at our meeting in July for consideration. Then there's the addition of administrative matters, item 8.15, and that's the CR ONSROOT administrative amendment. Then removal of economic development under closed session. Addition of attorney-client under closed session as pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. And then finally, the addition of a new business item by Commissioner Halp.
Okay. Any further adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda as adjusted?
Make a motion, we approve.
Commissioner Brown, all in favor, please say aye. 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 Marvin? Just an announcement, Commissioner Norman is joining us by telephone. He's recently been hospitalized, and I don't know if he's still in the hospital or is at home. But there's usually a lag time between the time in which we vote and the time in which he hears it and it gets transmitted back to us. So Marvin, we just had a motion to adopt our agenda, and we voted, but we just need your vote.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are unanimous. There are no presentations of any special recognitions or awards this evening. We do have one appointment before the board, which is a presentation by South Iredell Fire Rescue Chief Jerry Starr. And I think all of us have a copy of the presentations. Welcome, Chief Starr.
Thank you, Chairman. Commissioners, thank you for your time. Manager, thank you. And Ms. Anderson, thank you very much. I appreciate all your help. I did kind of a no-no. I went ahead and passed the presentation out, so I'm sure you're already reading ahead, but I wanted you to have it. We're an open door, and I'll kind of get started, so it's not to waste your time. Also, I'd like to thank my members for showing up in support. This is as important to them as it is to me, and it is to our citizens of Iredell County, Caudle Creek, and Linwood. So the purpose of me here today is I want to tell you a little bit about South Iredell. A few of you have come out there and had a look, a talk, a ride around with me. Miss Nieder, you've come out there and spent, my gosh, half a day. Those are things I'll always cherish, is the fact that you guys are probably one of the hardest working boards I've been around. I look forward and kind of hopeful to the new board that's coming in the future, and I hope they serve us well as you all have. So the purpose is I want to talk to you a little bit about how we've changed and adapted over the last 5 years, and where we're growing, some of the trends I see, and to communicate our needs to you. So South Iredell is, we were born out of the word no. The town of Mooresville decided they would no longer provide fire protection outside their municipal limits in 1966. So we, the community members, formed the fire department. They built the first department with their bare hands, and with the partnership of the county, they received their first engine and started business on behalf of the folks. So we're used to the word no, but in the future, I'm going to have some sort of yes for additional funding. But that's where we got our start. So I want you to know that we're still out here to this very day providing a much higher level of service. Those guys that started the station, there's a few of them still left. I have them in at least once a year for a retirement dinner, and they're just in amazement of what they started, what it turned into. So it's a wonderful thing. How we stand out among other fire departments in our area. South Iredell was built in 2015 as far as our new station at 1.9. That same building now would cost you 5 or 6. So we were very, even at the time we built it, was not that long ago, we were pretty creative and diligent. The other part's the $250,000 that we spent out of our own budget. At the time, that's how it was done. Now these funds are being gathered out of other sources and other accounts from the county. Those are two things we're very proud of, and I think represent a definite savings, because we're not paying on the land, you're just paying on the station. South Iredell has a live-in program. We also have a training facility that we built ourselves. 100,000 of it was sourced out of the sale of our old fire station. 40,000 of it was financed. That's the only debt we hold outside of our truck and our building. So that little bit of debt is, again, serviced out of the $314,000 that we get. Our training program is one of the only few volunteer fire departments that run firefighter 1 and 2 from beginning to end at a volunteer schedule. It takes about 6 months, where the BFT daytime program through Mitchell usually takes about 3 to 4 months. So it's a longer amount of time. It takes a little bit more of an investment on the person, but it can be done after work. So we cater that towards volunteers. Everybody keeps asking, how do we have so many volunteers? We give them things to do. We give them responsibilities. We give them opportunities, and we train them. You give them opportunities, you manage them, you lead them, you train them, you'll have them. Car 1, you can find a chief that's riding around in a little buggy of his, and it's just his. I don't have a chief's buggy. I share it with my officers. See, if you have a title at South Iredell, you have a responsibility. We'll get into those, what those responsibilities are here shortly. And Air 1, we provide air service to the whole entire county with a focus on the south end, because there's another air truck that Central operates. And that kind of sets us out. So our footprint is a little bit larger than the average volunteer fire department. And it wasn't always like that. That footprint has gotten bigger over the last 3 to 4 years. Myself and my officers have something to do with that. You can see on the bottom our new station and where we come from. The little volunteer fire station that started in the 60s was about 4,000 square foot. Our new facility now is 14,000 square foot. A lot more to heat, a lot more to take care of. Our live-in program, we're the only one in the county and in this area with a live-in program. At its max, it's had 4, and at its lowest, it's had 1. I've got 2 more potential move-ins slated for the end of summer. This program is developed and focused towards college students, primarily. I've had a couple, and they're in here tonight. They thought it was a little cooler to live at a fire station than at a dorm because they attended local colleges. They're engineers. I've got one pre-med student behind me right now. So just because they're a volunteer doesn't mean that they're, it's just a tradesman. Well, we have some very bright minds. I'm very proud of all of them. They serve diligently and admirably. They cover about 55 hours a week of station time. That's time that's not paid for. They're reimbursed by having a cool place to live and a little bit of a responsibility. We let them off on the weekends, so you can't keep young men trapped in a fire station 7 days a week. Let's talk a little bit about our training facility. 3 stories, 2,700 square feet. When I took this task on, I didn't take it on by myself. Padula Excavating put a 4-foot pad back there, all at cost. He didn't charge me any labor. Our guys built the maze, the mid-story or the second story. It's laid out like a house. We can set fires in here, multiple fires, not at a time, but one at a time, but back to back. Real life training conditions. You can have a box, but we actually have a 3-story facility. This meets the definition that the state uses for a training facility. So this is lowering the ISO points. Not only does it lower South Iredell's, but anybody that participates at this can also count it towards the ISO. So it has become kind of a regional deal. So facility points is what they call it if you're ever looking into the ISO spreadsheet. So it's a big deal. It also gives us the ability, training is the lubricant that you use to move your department. So it gives us a real world place to build firemen, firefighters. We cover the cost of the maintenance and the upgrades. Our training program since 2019 has taught 3 Firefighter 1 and 2 classes, a host of technical rescue classes, driver operator, and advanced classes like North Carolina Rapid Intervention Crew and Emergency Vehicle Driver, just to name a few. Mitchell College does work with us as far as paying instructors that are tied into the college. However, Mitchell College refuses to fund any additional firefighter training outside the Firefighter 1 and 2 schedule. So when Mitchell College talks about building bridges, that's a tough stretch. So there again, that's more money that I have to spend to pay for diesel, straw, wood, and other extra members to provide a fire truck and the intricate workings when you set a live fire in there. There's a live fire standard we have to meet for this facility. You have to have so many instructors, but that's all the college funds. They don't fund the extra people that run the material, run the trucks. That's a problem. Another day. Here's our training. These are by man hours if you combine them all. We got a little slow in COVID, not too slow. You can see in 2021, we're at 8,000. We're projected to be over 9,000 this June. Car 1, there's a lot of things I can say that are organic about what's happening out at South Iredell. Car 1 was an idea that that was birthed by me and then fathered by my officers. I grew up in the fire service where people had titles but no responsibilities. I wanted to make sure that my officers had responsibilities and they were qualified, able to take my stead if I wasn't there, or just be a good company officer. So at that point, I wanted a vehicle that the volunteer firemen and my paid staff could actually count on. This vehicle runs Monday through Friday in the evenings and 24 hours on the weekends. And it's covered by a certified state fire officer. So you get accountability with that officer responding. My folks know that they're looking for that car. They're looking for a leader. They're looking for that car. Now, that doesn't keep other additional officers from responding or myself. But you don't hear me on the radio a lot. You hear my car. This transports my desires and wishes to every fire scene. The functions that it fills are instant safety commander, safety officer, water supply, division, operations, additional manpower, and it's an extra EMT. If you were to pay for this service the way we set it up, it'd be $80,000 a year, free. It's the mobile air unit. It provides mobile air and other rehab resources. We took this on. Nobody else wanted it. We took it. We took it on, and it serves the whole county, but primarily the south end. If Jeff's unit breaks in the north, I go north. Wherever it's called to go, it goes. It's like I said, it's not that unbearable to do, but it's another cost. Now, I do share some of the high, if it has a huge expense, I do share that expense with Kent Green. But for the most part, all the maintenance, gas, and anything else that the vehicle requires, we took on. So those are some of the extra places it serves. So to get down to why I'm here, I have asked for the last 3 years through Kent, what are we doing with staffing? What is the plan to add additional staffing? I need one person. I've been expressed with my needs with my elected folks. I've been very clear with Kent, and every time the budget comes up, it's very disappointing. So I'm asking for $150,000 additional staffing, and I'm not asking for it now. I'm asking for it in 23-24's budget, and I'm hoping with enough advance notice, you understand where I'm at and how urgent this is, but how patient I've been. My lips are barely above water now. I can barely breathe. It's like one more larger tide comes in, and it's going to be even harder. And I'll show you why. We talked about that funding and the model that we're going to break it down by. To break that down is our current staffing model is 2 firefighter EMTs during the day. And we have, I recently added 4 nighttime slots. I don't really have the money to do it, but I've got to do something. I've got to give some consistency to these college students that I have that are working, these younger firefighters. They got to have a driver. That's one of the toughest things to develop in the fire service. It takes the longest to develop it, and that's a driver operator. As you can see on the right, this is how we'd plan to carve it up. It would put 3 firefighters in the station during the day, which is when a volunteer fire department says weakest. I still have a lot of folks that have conventional jobs, and they're gone during the day. So this would bring us up to 3. It would give us 7 days a week nighttime coverage, and then it would give us weekend coverage. Because remember, you're funding that one position, but we're carving it up just a little bit to make it work for our response. The reason why we need it. So I only went back 4 years. I could have went back more, but I don't want to waste anybody's time. The graph is clear. It continuously goes up. Our area continues to develop in the unincorporated area. It's the reason why I asked for that tanker, and I'll give you a brief on it at the end if you want it, where it sits and when we can expect it. That was one of my greater fears, was not having enough water for these larger homes that are populating my area fast. We look to be over 600 incidents this year. This is the one where I really, some digging. This isn't South Iredell's numbers. This comes directly from the tax office. So if you'll notice, the tax valuation is in black, and South Iredell's actual budget with debt servicing. So this is everything that you send to us. Keep in mind, South Iredell is the smallest fire district in the South End. We are the most rural fire district in the South End. And the whole time growing up, we were a taker. We had to take in more than we, than we actually made because we were so rural and small. But something's happened between 2018 and 2019, didn't it? The valuation, we actually became worth more than what we take, to the tune of now almost $50,000 is leaving the fire district going somewhere else. This is tough when you look at it. So, at the end of the day, what this funds is 45 people on the roster. 39 of these 45 people are certified firefighters. 33 of them are firefighter EMTs. 21 were trained in-house. There's nobody doing that. 21 certified firefighter EMTs trained in-house. We answer, our calls continue to increase. We answer them all. I've had no scratches. Our comparable department budgets, when you guys laid over the countywide fire district, I'm gonna poke at you a little bit here. You said 21 times we couldn't be equal. We couldn't make the fire departments equal, but we could be equitable. It's not equitable. These are my neighbors. These are the same people that I have to provide the same service they do. The town's not on there. I just put the county entities on there. They all have round-the-clock staffing. I don't. I rely on the kindness of people leaving high school and going to college, or someone returning from the Army to staff my station at night. While it's a creative program, I still need to bring some sort of level playing field to my station. This is not equitable by no stretch of the means. Not with the calls continuing to grow the way it is, not with the district growing the way it is. I don't think my ask is too much. So I hope you do consider it. And again, these figures are based off of no debt servicing. So these are just straight, that's my focus. You guys graciously cover our debt, and I am thankful. I am not standing before you being ungrateful. I'm standing before you telling you, you're gonna let something special and organic die on the vine. It's wrong. We'll wrap it up. We have not seen a substantial increase in operating funds in many years, where our neighbors have seen multiple. We have taken on additional roles to better service the taxpayers and our neighboring fire departments. This increase will allow South Iredell to have round-the-clock staffing, which is more in line with the service delivery that you're already paying for all the way around us. That's what I want you to keep in mind. The citizens of Caudle Creek and Linwood and Southern Iredell County are just as important as the folks over at Mount Morin, Shepherds, Lake Norman, and the town of Mooresville. I'm matching their service now. I'm just asking for a little bit of consistency and a little bit more help. I don't think this is that big of an ask. I really appreciate your time. I know it's the most important thing you can give to anybody is your time. I am greatly appreciated, and I'm humbly your fire chief. Whether I agree with you or I don't, you'll always have my respect and my admiration. Take any questions you have.
Question, but I was curious, what is, on the reevaluation, how much is that gonna increase theirs? Do you have any idea?
I will say preliminary projections we're looking at about a 30% increase. And we fund, our fire formula is based on a formula, and that, of course, does not include the municipalities. It doesn't include Statesville or Mooresville. But as far as overall, what we're looking at in our reappraisal, we're looking at about a 30% increase.
That's automatically coming.
I would caution you on relying on just that alone.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that we know that's coming.
Yes, sir.
Chief,
That's why I'm standing here, because I haven't sent letters to you guys. I haven't sent an envoy. I haven't sent anything on how these other folks seem to somehow magically receive more funding. I came directly to you. I don't ring Beth's number. I don't communicate with Beth, not because I don't want to. I think it's disrespectful. Y'all have hired a gentleman for me to work with. I work with Kent. I appreciate Kent. Kent works as a tell-off. Kent has a lot of responsibility and a little authority. So this isn't me up here disrespecting Kent or going over Kent's head. I have spent 3 years working with Kent to get this person, and to no avail, where others seem to somehow just magically make things happen. So I put it on the record. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm not afraid to talk. I'm not afraid to tell you how I feel. I'm not afraid to show a little emotion. It's that important to me. I wish more people were like that.
how many, you said there were 2 air units in the county?
Yes, sir.
What do you think, can you get Kent those numbers for him to get back to us? You may have them, but I just didn't know what your department specifically spends on that when it services multiple departments, and then like your training facility that's used for multiple agencies, if there was a way for us to potentially participate with that for all of you, to where one department's not carrying that burden, and whichever department the north end is that's doing their air unit, maybe Kent can get those numbers as well. That may be a little bit of relief.
Well, the air unit is a special unit, specialty unit. The problem with the air units is they're all over 30 years old. Jeff's is a little older than mine. Both compressors are no longer made. The gentleman from Stallion Air, he said, it's a great compressor, 6,000 PSI. It does the current air rigs that we wear. The problem is that the tool and die for it's done, because now they make them in screw types. They're a lot smaller, a lot more compact. My suggestion is you start looking into making manpower pool trucks. I've got ideas on how to make that truck even more functional. But they're both ready for replacement. The problem is there's only so much of that pie available every year, and it's kind of hard to take a truck that doesn't run every day
Right.
and put it before a truck that does.
Right.
So this is going to take some creative funding to replace these 2 trucks. But if you replaced them with something that I could put people in, I've sent this truck to Troutman multiple times and sent manpower with it, and they were grateful to have it. I've sent it to Shepherd's and several other places that were grateful to have the extra manpower, not just to fill air cylinders, but the actual do work. How this truck used to run is it ran out of a little building up there off of, I think, Moxville Highway. It's an old county facility, and wasn't maintained the greatest by the Firemen's Association. They'll admit it. I mean, it's not a secret. I took it, cleaned it up, and I make sure that the air quality test is done on it on a regular basis. I send that air quality test out to all the fire chiefs, including Kent Green. So it's maintained a little bit better, because it's in a house. People are going to rub on it, they're going to love on it a little bit, take it out, make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. I had several members that had worked on that truck when it was at the rescue squad years ago. So it's one of those trucks that we're going to have to find some funding for it. And if we can do it the right way, I can show you how to take and put, 2 RIT trucks, rescue trucks in service that can handle light air, respond to other districts for manpower. I know people had talked about squad trucks years ago. Some other counties use them as manpower trucks. This would, I think, would be a lot less offensive, but would serve the same purpose. And when I say offensive, firemen are territorial. Again, nothing that we don't hide or need to hide. We're prideful creatures, sometimes too prideful.
Right. Now, is Harmony's back up now? Because I knew it was down.
They all go down because they're old.
No? I mean, I just
Again,
met with them.
Yeah, it's old. Harmony got into the air business a little late. There's 2 trucks that do 6,000 PSI, and they do that for a reason. Most of our rigs are going to 5,500 PSI. Harmony's can only do 4,500. Not throwing any shade at them, but it is what it is. But they serve their area, plus they back up Central and the north end, so it takes us all. The 2 rigs I mostly focus on, though, are going to be Centrals and South Iredell's, because they are the full version of the air squad type truck.
Yeah, we need to look at those because one department doesn't need to bear the burden or the cost of something that benefits all the departments.
Yep. And Jeff does a
we need to
good
look
job
at
with
that.
his up here at Central. I'm not trying to take away anything from anybody. He has a little bit more workload than I do just because of his proximity. We have the county divided in half. I go all the way up to southern Statesville, covering Wayside to, and kind of down through that area. I had the GIS folks draw the map up, so it's impartial.
So the crews you're talking about, with that, we've talked about duty crews, we call them duty crews, but you're calling them something else, I think. But they serve similar, multiple capacities as manpower.
Sure.
/ they could serve air, whatever.
In other counties, yes, sir. They call them squads.
Squad, yeah.
Yep. It wasn't popularly received in this county, and I'm not trying to bring it back up. I'm just saying in the future, this would be, it would be a way that you could send extra manpower to a scene to fill air cylinders or other work or whatever need to be.
That's whatever. 'cause
Rig crew,
the-
whatever.
The
Yes,
biggest increases we have right now are medical calls
Sure.
throughout the county.
sure. And that's, again, that's why I think these trucks are the age they are and still in service, is because nobody wants to put them in front of a truck that has to go out the door every single day. These trucks are fairly mission critical. However, like I said, I couldn't justify putting it in front of an engine unless it was going to be some sort of, multi-role truck, so. Questions?
How many volunteers do you presently have?
We have 45.
I think that's what makes South really stand out, is that you've made a volunteer fire department model not only function, but prosper. And it's like you said, it's about giving people responsibility, giving them the tools, giving them the training, and giving them the respect that keeps folks engaged.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's at a cost of not only time with family or doing R&R, but it's also a cost out of pocket relative to increasing gas cost to respond. And so we're cognizant of the fact that people's out of pocket is impacting their ability to serve in some cases. And we've discussed before that we're in a sort of a 4-year budget cycle based on the revaluation process. And that, as has been alluded to, the upcoming revaluation is likely to be pretty good to Iredell County writ large. But of course, the fire tax only incorporates unincorporated areas. And I think that when we look at a 30% average, a lot of that's going to be weighted towards the municipalities where you have more business valuations. And we're looking at the incredible shrinking county as municipalities expand. That transfers that tax base. We retain it from the general fund, but it's taken away from the fire tax funds.
Correct. And that's why I caution you on just relying on the tax reevaluation And yes, while there is annexation that takes place in everybody's fire district in the south end, again, that model where you start seeing the actual fire district itself going up, that's unincorporated. So our district, even though it shrinks by small chunks here and there of tax deferred property, they're not taking non-tax deferred property. So these are open fields, woods, things that don't generate usually fire calls. And the revenue has been deferred. So it continues to grow, so that's why I'm all careful. I'm not sitting here saying would never tell you that I want the fire tax, raised to an astronomical amount. But please don't take it off the board, and please look at the whole picture. Don't just say, well, we're just gonna rely on that evaluation, because I've been sitting here for 3 years, and I'm every year that 314, even with the cost of living increases that I've gotten in that same time period, they just keep getting crunched down by fuel expenses, everything. And I've told you, I'm very grateful for the program that Kent come up with as far as buying fire equipment. If it wasn't for that fund, there's no way I could operate. I rely now on that fund to buy turnout gear, to buy hose and other equipment. I even do a little bit of maintenance with it on vehicles that he allows me to squeeze in that go into operation side of things. So the only other thing that I really, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but since I have your ear, the South End hasn't seen an increase in the rescue budget in 15 years. We get forgot about a little bit because we're not standalone rescue squads. Throwing no shade at any rescue squad, we're combination fire and rescue. My hearse tools are aging out. They're almost 20 years old. I guarantee the squad doesn't have 20-year-old tools. The problem with this is I'm not allowed to purchase rescue equipment with fire tax money. I receive $14,000 a year in rescue funds. That barely buys a hammer. I need help there. I'm looking at grants. I'm using extra, some of the grant money that we got for COVID. I'm getting ready to buy tools. If it wasn't for COVID, I wouldn't be able to. I wouldn't have a commercial washing machine and have a program to start mitigating cancer. So now I have a professional washing machine because of COVID, and we've had a dryer. We kind of, I call it Frankenstein. It's got several different types of manufactured parts on it, but we keep making her work. But at the end of the day, I mean, being the poorest guy on the block has made us very innovative. And I have some nice equipment and a nice station for this innovation to take place. And that's part of some of our success. So I'm not looking to kill that. I'm not looking to bring a bunch of paid firemen in my station. I'm just looking for a little consistency. Think about some of that rescue stuff. Really look into the rescue budget on the south end. Because I guarantee if you look, 15 years is accurate. I bet the rescue squads have had several large increases in 15 years. And with that,
We also, just so you know, in our retreat, we talked about considering looking at paying the volunteer fire department personnel to do their annual 36 hours. And then part of our new idea that come out of Wimborne was maybe ask them to do an additional 4 hours a year joint training with ECOM. So they would be potentially reimbursed if we can budget that for 40 hours a year. And just so you talked about time is important.
Sure.
To where, your full-time personnel are getting paid when they're getting their training. So we don't want to punish, from my perspective, the volunteer people for doing their training away from their families and jobs and other things. So we wanted to let you know, we're looking at all kind of options and trying to figure out funding mechanisms for that.
I'll be talking with y'all directly, and you can go ahead and send me that money for that 4 hours with ECOM, because I'm one of the only fire departments that's done joint training with them. already. So,
One more thing, I haven't had
Yes,
an
ma'am.
opportunity, and you know I have to have my opportunity there. but
Absolutely.
I want to give a shout out to you and your team, the community piece, which speak volumes when we attended your community day. Not only do you do your job and do it well, your community embraces you and appreciates you. And it showed that day, and your 3-story training facility is impressive, not only when it's not on fire, but when it is on fire too. And that showed the community the work that you can do and do it successfully and safely. So it was all the way up from young kids be inspired to look at becoming a firefighter, to the older folks in the community knowing that you're there if they need you, and then the rest of us in between on there too. So thank you for all you do in the community and being outstanding, and for the information you provided.
thank you.
You know, I'll say one thing, Chief. You've taken away the excuses for not being able to have or to attract volunteers. That's sort of the story you get these days. It's just, you know, we can only staff with paid folks, and that are usually full-time firemen at a full-time position in a department. But in an area where, you know, there is a lot of growth and close proximity to Charlotte and all, you've made that work.
Okay.
And
It's been
so,
said we've been the cheapest deal in town. I also want to be the best trained deal in town.
well, you know, and, you know, whether you're full-time or part-time, you're a professional. And the standards are the same for full-time firefighters as they are for volunteer firefighters. There's just no difference in the standard.
Yeah, it'll kill you just the same.
Yeah. So, appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to share your particular challenges, because, you know, we have fire departments all along this continuum of almost full-time to pure volunteer, the way they were originally designed, and everywhere in between. And the greatest cost is personnel, really. And you're able to have the most, get the most bang for the buck and the best return on the investment, because you're leveraging the dedication of multiple folks and not just relying on a few. But, you know, that comes at a cost. There's cost of training and the recruiting piece and running the full-time, you know, a place for people to stay. So the funding formula that, you know, we adopted was recognized as, okay, this is a stab at trying to have a predictable and equitable and a fair way of doing it. Obviously, there are tweaks that can be made to be able to address specific issues. And if you have a bottom-up budget that you've presented and said, okay, this is what I need to operate, then next year I think we'll afford an opportunity to make modifications to that formula so that those baseline needs are met, not just for the next year, but projecting into the remaining 3 years of that 4-year sort of cycle that we're on. But the only thing constant is change. So
Correct.
You're sharing with us your challenges,
Yes.
not for this year, but for next year. That's much appreciated, because I think it gives us a better appreciation of the challenges that you have.
And
we can respond to those.
we're not beneath bringing you an answer to the problem either. There's the SAFER grant, but I wanted to give you guys, 12 months to help me figure this out. Because this is just the opening phase. I'm gonna be up here more, making sure that this happens. This is a got to happen.
Okay.
So we gotta work together and figure out how. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Chief Starr, and thank you, South Iredell Fire and Rescue, for all you do every day, all night. And appreciate you, and appreciate you taking the time to come and support the chief. Ooh. Okay, we'll now move on to item 7, which is a public hearing to consider an economic development incentive for Project Spark. And see Chad, I think. There he is.
Chairman Mallory and members of the board, for this opportunity to present this economic incentive request. I'm Chad Thomas, Director of Business Development with Iredell County Economic Development Corporation. Iredell EDC is pleased to present Denso Manufacturing North Carolina Incorporated, also known as Project Spark, for consideration for an economic development incentive grant from Iredell County for their expansion of their existing facility in the city of Statesville. Located at 470 Crawford Road in Statesville, Denso Manufacturing North Carolina, Inc., Denso, has been in business since 1989. Denso produces DC, or direct current motors, for the automotive industry for the majority of all car manufacturers. And the automotive industry changed such that the market for electric and self-driving cars is growing rapidly. This has required Denso to change their direction from producing basic conventional DC motors to producing smart DC motors for smart driving cars. Denso has the strong desire to maintain its presence in North Carolina and is evaluating options to dedicate the Statesville facility for the production of these smart DC motors, thus securing a solid hold on the successful production facility in North Carolina. The proposed investment of $38 million will help secure the Statesville facility as the headquarter plant for the production of these smart motors. This expansion will create up to, or a minimum of 137 jobs and up to 268 jobs by December 2022. In accordance with the Iredell County Economic Development Policy, Iredell EDC requests an economic development or economic incentive grant to Denso Manufacturing North Carolina, Inc. for up to $418,212 based on a capital investment total of $38 million and the minimum creation of 137 jobs up to 268 jobs. The grant is performance-based and would be payable over 5 years at 75% of the new real property and 50% of the tangible personal property assessed tax value. Payment is tied to the amount of new increment assessed value generated from the private investment by the company. And the City of Statesville City Council approved an economic development incentive grant last night at their City Council meeting. On behalf of Iredell EDC, I want to thank the commissioners for your consideration of this grant and would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Any questions from commissioners? Just for point of clarification, this was originally ASMO when it came to North Carolina and represented really the first investment in this area that I'm aware of, major investment by a Japanese company to set up a plant and to use the management processes that they had learned from Jack Walsh at GE. And so they created a team approach, and now they're taking that to from the 20th century into the 21st century as a leader in the smart motor development. And so they've converted a significant portion of their manufacturing facility, which looked like a lot of typical manufacturing facilities, making parts and then assembling those parts, to a massive clean room which you could eat off the floor and that's how parts are designed and manufactured now using electronics that can't be exposed to dust and dirt or anything like that. So they are in this process of, you can't see it going on from the outside, but what's going on in the inside is truly transformational. And these are jobs for the 21st century, well-paying, high-tech team-oriented jobs. So we're excited that they chose Iredell County and Statesville to use this as their base to expand. They had other opportunities, other choices, other states, other places within North Carolina. But what they saw in Iredell County was special, and what made us really the special is the workforce and the people and all of the infrastructure that we can bring to bear. So without further ado, this is a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. And I don't see that anyone has signed up to be heard. I would inquire if anyone who's seated here would like to be heard on this matter. Seeing and hearing none, I will close the public hearing and ask if there's a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve an economic incentive of up to $418,212 over a 5-year period based on the company's investment of up to $38 million, creation of up to 268 jobs, and contingent upon a contract being executed within 180 days.
Motion by Commissioner Halp. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, I believe that. Marvin, did you say aye?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are unanimous. Thank you, Chad, for all the good work that the Iredell Economic Development Corporation does to posture us for success. Just basically package what we already have and present it in a way that's compelling for potential investors and businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move on to our administrative matters. These are normally technical issues that we hear at our pre-agenda meeting at 5 o'clock, which is open to the public and it's broadcast and encourage people to come. It's typically presented by staff who these technical issues are brought before us. Sometimes it actually morphs into an extended discussion on various issues. But it allows us to put them all on a consent agenda and not add an hour and a half to everybody's life, or I should say take away an hour and a half of everybody's life at the 7 o'clock hour. And it frees up staff from having to hang around for 3 hours longer. So I'll ask our county manager, Mull, to please summarize those items on our consent agenda for a motion.
Thank you, Chairman Mallory. First item is a request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of Budget Amendment Number 49 in the amount of $66,600 to accept the Internet Crimes Against Children grant, and this is a no match required grant. There was a request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of Budget Amendment Number 50 to accept COVID-19 support for county confinement facilities in the amount of $100,030, and again, no match required for this grant. A request from Stony Point Volunteer Fire Department for approval of a resolution regarding financing with First Community Bank. There was a request from Emergency Management for approval of Budget Amendment Number 51 in the amount of $15,320 to receive Emergency Management Performance Grant American Rescue Plan Act funds. Again, no match required for these additional funds. Request from the Fire Services Emergency Management Department for approval of an amendment to the software license agreement with VIII. A request from the Department of Social Services for renewal and approval of the DHHS Iredell County Memorandum of Understanding for fiscal years 22 through 24 pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 108A-74. This is and I'm going to take a liberty here, but this is a memorandum of agreement that we approve each year, and we really don't have a choice to do that. So we make our comments and concerns regarding the requirements of this known and approve it under protest. A request from the Finance Department for approval of a contract with DebtBook for debt management software. A request from the Finance Department for approval of a special revenue opioid settlement fund in the amount of $1,674,911 to meet the 12 strategies of the settlement. A request from the Finance Department for the adoption of the American Rescue Plan Act specific policies. We had several different policies that are required by the U.S. Treasury to adopt prior to expending these funds. A request from Centralina Workforce Development Board for the county to remain a part of the Centralina Workforce Development Consortium through the agreed-upon period, which is July of 2023. A request from Tax Administration for approval of the May 2022 refunds and releases. A request from the Clerk to the Board for approval of the minutes from the meeting on June 7th, 2022. And a county construction project update, which was just for informational purposes only. And then the addition to the agenda was the administrative amendment to the incentive agreement for CR Onsrud, which basically made the change of, instead of 2 buildings, transitioning to 1 based on the cost of construction. It would still be up to $324,701 based on the minimum capital investment of $13 million and up to $17.2 million. And the company will maintain their commitment to the creation of 25 jobs. Again, they're going from 2 buildings originally planned based on the cost of construction to 1 facility.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all the items for the consent agenda, Chairman Mallory.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mull. Is there any further discussion on any of the consent items? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Commissioner Brown. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Item 9, there are no announcements of any vacancies occurring on boards and commissions. Item 10, there are appointments to boards and commissions for Mitchell Community College Board of Trustees and Partners Behavior Board of Directors. The Planning Board appointments, since we've just recently received the geographic breakdown of all of the current members, outgoing members, and applicants, we will digest that and take action on that at our next meeting, which is a month from
19th.
now, the 19th of July. We will not have a meeting the week of July 4th. Would you please view the appointments to Mitchell College Community Board of Trustees and Partners Behavioral?
Absolutely. Mitchell Community College, Jonathan Byers has volunteered to serve again, and that is recommended by Mitchell Community College to reappoint that member. And then for Partners Behavioral Health Board of Directors, we have 1 appointment. Mike Hoffman has volunteered to serve again, and the Board of Directors have recommended and requested for the board to reappoint Mr. Hoffman.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion for the Mitchell Community College Board of Trustees and for the Partners Behavioral Board of Directors, their appointments.
Okay. Motion to approve those appointments. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Carries unanimously. Item 9, unfinished business. I don't think I'm aware of any. This is a public comment period meeting, which affords any person the ability to share anything they'd like to share with the commission and the general public. There's a 3-minute limitation, and there's a couple clocks up here. You can kind of keep track of things, and as you're getting down to the 30-second mark, then County Clerk Amy Anderson will start waving her hands and otherwise trying to.
The color will change. We have new clocks. There'll be a color change.
So it's going to,
It's like stoplight.
turning yellow and then turning red, is that?
Yes,
what it does?
it-
Okay.
That's what it does.
All right, this is a new experiment in technology, so you won't have to wave your hands and gesticulate wildly. When you come up, and I'll call the folks that have signed up, if you'll please just state your name for the record and where you live and address, and then launch forth. So the first person that signed up is Tim Meadows.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Timothy Meadows. I'm the Mayor Pro Tem of Love Valley, North Carolina. My address is 279 Love Valley Road. As you all are well aware, we have several things going on in our town. It would take a lot more than 3 minutes to explain everything to you, but the reason I'm here this evening is we have a FEMA project back from the Tropical Storm Ida about 16 months ago or so. And you guys well aware that our town budget runs on about $80,000 a year. And with that budget, we are allotted $14,000 toward our roads and maintaining our roads in our town. There's actually 28 different sites or 28 different roads that we have to maintain. We have been awarded some money from FEMA, and everything has been signed, documented, ready to go. The only problem is we do not have the money to fund that project up front. So I'm coming to y'all to ask you if you would be willing to help the town of Love Valley and fund that project up front, knowing that that money is allocated by FEMA. 90% of that money is coming from FEMA, 10% is coming from the state. I have all the documentation and things of that nature. It's an average of $1,019,142.21. So with talking with the state, they've told me that other counties have done this for small municipalities, Catawba being one of those with the historic bridge that they had damage to several years back. I believe that project was somewhere around $4 million. Catawba had the same situation. Didn't have the money to foot that bill up front. And so they presented themselves to the commissioners. The county said, yep, we'll go with it. They did it. FEMA paid it back through them. Everything worked out just fine. So we're not asking you to give us any money. We're asking you to loan us some money. So I'm hoping that you guys will take that into consideration. I know it's kind of last minute, but if you guys got any questions, I'll be happy to answer what I can.
Well, I know we talked today, and
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And you know, I appreciate Love Valley and told you how I feel about Love Valley, but we're, as commissioners, we got to be good stewards too. What me, one of five, is I would like that paperwork brought to our experts here in the county, which we have a group of young ladies, one of them sitting behind you back there is super good with it, but and several of them's not here, but these guys know how FEMA works, and I don't know if any of us up here do, but if we can get the paperwork to those guys so they can look at, I know we're getting into a time crunch on this thing, so we need, you know, as far as my perception, we need to get it to them quick if y'all are willing, and let them look over it and go from there. And so, okay, he's got to do it.
I've been at this for 16 months, so I've got till September 3rd before I have to put an extension in. So I talked to the FEMA representatives today, and with all three of them on a phone conference right after I spoke to you and spoke to Ms. Mull. And I was like, hey, here's what I'm doing this evening. They're like, heck yeah, man, go on. I was like, I'm gonna try.
Well,
So-
we've got the people that know how to do it, so if we can get them to give us the go, then we can have something to work with.
Very good.
Yeah, I think what Commissioner Brown brings up, the point is that FEMA has expectations of crossing Ts and dotting Is as far as their disbursement of funds. And if you don't do the things that they expect, or if you've done something wrong, you can't go back and undo, can't unring a bell, and that may decrement or eliminate the grant altogether. So we want to make sure, you know, what you're asking is certainly reasonable, and I'm sure that we'd all, you know, entertain that, given the right controls, so that we can be assured for the general taxpayer of Iredell County that FEMA is actually going to come through and with the grant in full. And so
Everything that I have is documented from them, their engineers and everybody, and has been approved, and I have all that documentation, which I'll get to whomever I need to get it to. So, and the contractor that our board chose, and I have our clerk and one of our board members sitting here this evening. But in talking with them and getting everything lined up, they have told us, you know, if they've got any questions, if anybody's got any questions from the county or anywhere, have them call us. We'll tell them what's going on everything's already documented and ready to go. So our road contractor has actually worked with the state with the I-77 project.
Usually FEMA requires 2 or 3
Bids.
quotes. So did you get 2 or 3 quotes, though?
Our bids, everything's done.
No, I mean.
Yeah, we got 3
we're talking about-
bids. Yeah,
You
we
did
got
get
the
3
3
bids.
bids.
That's what I'm saying.
We chose, yep, we've been working on this Lisa and I have been working on this for the last 16 months or so.
does it
We're here to
say-
help you. We just want to be sure that,
Yeah,
we like grants.
We are, now they're telling us, we're ready to give you some money, get your contractor going. I said, we ain't got no money right now.
Is that-
And they're telling me,
Does the
go get it.
requirement say you have to be done by September 3rd with the project,
So-
or?
Yeah, so the way they did it is originally they thought we could get things moving pretty quick. And a lot of municipalities must have pretty good sized budgets. Ours is very small. So talking with them today, they told me September 3rd of 2022 was the road work deadline.
To have
be
it
completed.
done or started, or?
Done. But I said, that's not going to happen. I said, we don't have the funding yet. And so Mr. Andrews that I spoke to with the emergency management group has told me, so we know that. He said, but I have to tell you what the deadline is.
Right.
He said, so once you get everything sorted out through the county, if they're going to help you, he said, then we'll extend that out. He said, we know your road contractor has told us it's going to take a year to get the project done.
That was my concern.
Yeah, so it's going to take about a year, according
I think if,
to,
like Commissioner Brown said, if you can get everything to Beth, and then go ahead and put in for the extension would be my suggestion, because you know it's going to go beyond
Oh, yeah.
September 3rd. Because our concern on approval would want to make sure we had a year to get the job done, if that's what your people are saying, right?
Well, he has to have the commitment from the county
To get
before
the
he can apply
extension.
for the extension.
Okay.
So he needs to have, and I don't mean to speak for you.
Oh, you're fine.
But, and he did send me some information, so I've looked at it. But he has to have the funding commitment to say that we will pay for this up front. He's got the bids, and we have to say we are willing to front the money before he can go and ask for an extension. He needs to show that he has the money to move forward with the project, and they need some type of assurance that the project is going to move forward before they give the extension. Is that fair to say?
yes, ma'am, thank you.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't approve it, get started, didn't get it done, and then the money's gone and they're not going to give you an extension.
Right.
I guess all that chronologically would make us all sleep better. We do want to help you, right? I know.
Yeah, I have been speaking to Ms. Mullen.
Okay.
And I know she's very,
We
very
didn't hear
busy.
about it till tonight
Yeah,
so far for us, so apologize if you.
Oh, you're fine.
speak, get everything to her, she'll tell us what's going on.
Y'all do the mind meld, and we need to be joined at the hip in this whole process so that we can make sure that, FEMA's requirements are in fact met, whatever they are, and hope, and then when you've reviewed all that, then we can, approve that at our next meeting, or.
Yeah, and part of the issue is we've got to get to a new fiscal year, which is July 1. So that's part of, and we talked about that earlier, we've got to get to a.
Well, there may be
July
a budget
1.
amendment that we have to do. So, the spirit may be willing, but the process is a little slower. So we just need to go through the widgets ourselves and make sure that we've done all of our due diligence and set you up for success.
I appreciate that. Thank you. One last thing. We are having a special meeting tomorrow night at the Love Valley Presbyterian Church. I have Randy Welch from CERCAP coming to discuss the updates on the sewer and where we're at with that. And I know there's a lot of question within the county of that. So I would invite or encourage any of you that can come to come. He's going to be there. He's making that 2-hour trip from Raleigh to come and talk to us and talk to our board and our people in the public to let them know exactly where we're at with things. So we've been working very diligently on that, and we're moving in the right direction.
And I talked to Randy, and he's the best thing you got going.
You ain't lying.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Very much, Tim.
Thank you.
We obviously prolonged that 3 minutes beyond. That was our fault. Okay, next is Sherry, is it Pletcher or Fletcher? Pletcher, okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. I am Cheryl Pledger. I reside in Mooresville at 107 Foxtail Drive. I've been a registered nurse for 50 years, the last 20 of it here in North Carolina. I'm the founder of the first comfort care home in North Carolina, Serenity House in Mooresville, and we work closely with the area hospices to provide dignity at the end of life for Iredell County. My topic tonight is our county as a possible sanctuary for life. The definition of sanctuary is a safe place, especially for someone or something being chased or hunted. We live in a very different culture today from when I grew up. Culture has changed slowly and almost unnoticed by some. We used to celebrate life, babies, weddings, graduations. Celebrations now are more like tearing down statues, rewriting histories, gender decisions, and lawlessness. Why would we need to establish a sanctuary for life in Iredell County? Are we not a life-affirming county? I think we are, but the culture moving this way is a culture of death. Suicide isn't the answer to personal issues. Euthanasia is not the answer to chronic illness or old age. Abortion is not the answer to promiscuity. Life is a gift from God, not from the government. The government can say it's okay to end the life of a human being, a person, but God says otherwise. There's a worldwide agenda to reduce the population of the earth. In that agenda, abortion is okay, homicide is okay, drug overdose is okay. Once I understood that the goal is to reduce world population because the planet's not able to sustain so many people, then world events made much more sense to me. This is really about the value and the preciousness of life in our county. I want to stand for life in Iredell County by putting a line in the sand or a stake in the ground that says life in Iredell County is safe, safe from the culture of death that is coming to hunt and chase human lives. Sanctuary for life in Iredell County, let's make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pletcher. Is there anyone else that, well, I've run out of folks on the public comment period that have signed up, but I'll inquire as to anyone that's here that would like to be heard that maybe missed that opportunity. Seeing or hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and your insights and your sacrifice for the town of Love Valley and all that you're trying to do, both the roads and the sewer and the arena and everything else. Okay, new business, Commissioner Howe?
I just wanted to say, I wanted to tell our board to, and ask our citizens to please keep our community and our county in your prayers. Over the last week, our county's been hit hard by situations, and I'm very proud of, and we should all be proud of our ECOM, our emergency services personnel, with the wrecks and incidences that they've had to deal with last week. It was really difficult on all of them, and I monitor these situations regularly, and I can tell you, debriefing with some of these families and emergency services personnel, we have a lot of dedicated people, and there were people working these scenes with tears and other things flowing out of their face, but they did their job because they knew these people. And this involved children and impacted our communities very difficultly. So I wanted to ask, I went to the funeral today of 2 of the 3 so far that have passed from that one incident, and we've had others in the county, but I just wanted to ask our citizens to keep praying for one another and pray for our emergency services personnel from ECOM to everyone involved. I was in emergency services for 32 years and I've seen a lot of things, but that situation was one of the worst I've ever seen. And our county hadn't seen anything that bad in a long time. 4 helicopters having to come. All of our ECOM people, all of our emergency services people worked well together. Other departments went to the other departments that were tied up and were on standby. It was truly a mutual aid, county come together, citizens were helping at the scene from the neighborhood. It was very difficult, but I'm very proud as one of us that our people were so dedicated and they worked through these situations. And some are still having problems after this situation's over. And I know the families appreciate it. I've talked to some of them, and at the funeral today, it was a packed house at Western Avenue. And there still has to be one more funeral, unfortunately, that's coming from the family. But I just wanted us to be proud of our people and ask our citizens to be proud of them, and continued prayers for the families and our communities and all involved. Because these type situations do bring us closer. But Chief Starr and others mentioned tonight, we talk about things that we're involved in, budgeting and all those things, but these ladies and gentlemen don't always get recognized unless there's a major incident, but they deal with loss every day, and our citizens deal with loss every day. It's just not magnified to this level. But I just wanted to recognize them and say how proud we are. Scotty and I serve on that task force for our board, and there's always ways to try to improve things, but I'm very proud of the way they handled it, because it was really difficult to listen to and go see and witness, and it's been a continuation. So we've had some people that seen some things they'll never forget. So I just wanted you guys to know I'm proud of our people. I'm proud of all they do and these families and what they've had to endure. I hope I never, as a parent, have to bury one of my children.
Any other comments? Thank you, Commissioner Howe. The trauma is not just for the families, but for our first responders. And we have two programs that Brad Borders has worked with. One's called Reboot, to help former servicemen and women who have experienced PTSD or traumatic brain injury and other psychological, emotional trauma as a result of combat or service in the armed forces, and helping them work through those issues. They also have a program that's focused on first responders. And, to have a program means you've got demand for that program. And the trauma that our first responders go through is cumulative. It's not just one and done and gone, but it can build up over time. And then it can manifest itself in a lot of different ways. So just equipping them with the tools, that's a local effort and ministry that is also in other communities. But just if you'll lift up all of those folks in your prayers. They just need the Holy Spirit work in all of them to be able to help them process a lot of what they've seen. So, County Manager's report.
Just two quick announcements. One, to let everyone know that we do not have a meeting scheduled the first meeting in July because of the July 4th holiday. So we will only have one commissioner meeting in July, and that will be the 19th of that month. Also, to let everyone know that our Animal Services Department, the intake has closed temporarily just because we just don't have enough room to house the animals that we have currently. We're having an adoption special. So we encourage anybody that is looking for a pet to please go visit our Animal Services Department and consider adopting a pet. And hopefully, if our adoption specials are successful, we'll have intake open again, hopefully tomorrow or Thursday at the latest. But currently, right now, we just don't have the capacity.
How can folks learn more on that?
We have all kinds of information on our website for animal services. We even have pictures of the animals that are up for adoption. We have various different adoption fairs. They can call the office. They can see what animals we have and come visit them. And we have an acquaintance room where you can come in, and we actually have an outdoor area where you can go out and play with the animal and get acquainted with it. So we certainly encourage all of our citizens and visitors and to please take advantage of that and come visit the pets and see if you'd like to take one home.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Mull. We did have a closed session to discuss attorney-client issues pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 subsection A3. There are no actionable items to report out regarding that. That brings us to the end of our agenda. All hearts free. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Halp. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed, like sign. Motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned.